Keanu Reeves was strolling through a dim alley, cap pulled low, savoring a rare moment of peace after a long day. Then he heard it, a faint rustle and a small, shaky voice calling his name. He turned to see a little girl, soaked from the rain, clutching an old movie ticket, her wide eyes locked on him. She stepped closer, trembling but determined, and whispered, "I had to find you." Keanu stopped, caught off guard, a soft smile tugging at his lips as he knelt to her level. What she said next hit him like a punch to the gut, a secret tied to a tragedy that would shake him to his core and change her life forever. Before we dive deeper, let us know where you're tuning in from. Love stories like this? Hit subscribe, more heartfelt tales are coming your way. Keanu Reeves was on Lily's mind the moment she bolted from the orphanage that rainy afternoon. She was 10, small for her age, and clutching a wooden box with a broken watch inside, the only thing she had left from her parents. They'd died in a house fire when she was 7, and the pain still gnawed at her every day. She'd heard whispers that Keanu, her hero, was coming to a charity event nearby. That news lit a spark in her. She didn't care about the rain soaking her thin jacket, or the risk of getting caught. She had to see him. For Lily, Keanu wasn't just some actor. He was tied to her happiest memories, nights with her parents, laughing over his movies. Back then, her dad would mimic Keanu's fight moves, flopping onto the couch with a grin, while her mom giggled and called him dreamy. Those moments were gone, burned away with everything else, but Keanu stayed alive in her head. She'd sit in the orphanage, replaying those scenes, wondering if meeting him could bring back even a sliver of that joy. Was life worth living without them? She didn't know. But Keanu, he might be the answer. She'd been planning her escape all day. The caregivers were distracted, arguing about schedules, and Lily saw her chance. She slipped out, heart pounding, the wooden box pressed against her chest. Keanu was her lifeline, the one thing keeping her from sinking completely. She'd overheard he'd be at the community center, just a few miles away. If she could get there, maybe she'd feel them again. Her parents, their love, their warmth. It was a long shot, but she didn't care. She couldn't stay in that cold, gray place any longer, surrounded by kids who didn't get her and adults who didn't try. Lily stood up, legs shaky but resolute. The rain didn't matter. She started walking, fast, her sneakers slapping the wet ground. She didn't know where Keanu was exactly, just that he was close enough to chase. Her mind raced with questions. What if he didn't show? What if she got caught first? She pushed them aside. This wasn't about logic. It was about need. Keanu was more than a celebrity to her. He was proof her old life had been real, that happiness hadn't been a dream. She'd lost everything once. She wouldn't lose this chance too. What Lily didn't know, what no one could have guessed, was that Keanu wasn't far off, winding down after a long day. Their paths were about to crash in a way neither expected. She moved forward, driven by a stubborn hope, unaware that this rainy night would rewrite her story, and his. Keanu Reeves, the man she idolized, was about to become more than a memory. Lily kept moving through the night, her soaked sneakers squishing with every step. The wooden box, her parents' broken watch tucked inside, was her anchor, gripped tight against her chest. She'd escaped the orphanage hours ago, driven by one name, Keanu Reeves. Word had spread he'd be at a community center a few blocks away, and that was all she needed. Her body ached, her legs screamed to stop, but her heart wouldn't let her. Keanu was out there, somewhere, and he was her last thread to a life that once made sense. She caught snippets from strangers as she pushed on. Heard Keanu's showing up tonight, a guy muttered to his friend, their voices fading into the rain. Some charity thing. That was enough. Lily's hope flared, fragile but fierce. She pictured it, standing in front of him, spilling everything. How her dad used to pause the Matrix to fake a kung fu kick. How her mom's laugh filled the room. She'd tell Keanu he wasn't just a star to her, he was the glue holding her shattered pieces together. Maybe he'd listen, maybe he'd care. That thought burned brighter than the cold biting her skin. But fear clawed at her too. What if the caregivers were already hunting her down? She could almost hear their stern voices dragging her back to that lifeless place. Her pulse raced, a drumbeat of panic and purpose. She darted through a crowd near the center, weaving past shoulders and elbows, her small frame barely noticed. Every step felt heavier, her breath ragged, but she couldn't quit. Not now. Keanu was close. She could feel it. He had to be. She'd tell him everything, and maybe, just maybe, he'd see the little girl she used to be, not the broken one she'd become. Then she got there. The community center loomed ahead, but something was wrong. No lights blazed, no voices buzzed. People were leaving, heads down, grumbling about a storm. Lily froze, straining to hear over the rain. "Canceled," a woman snapped to her kid. "Blew in too fast." "Keanu's not coming." The words slammed into Lily like a fist. "Canceled?" She blinked, numb as the crowd thinned out. Her chest tightened, hope leaking away with every drop hitting her face. She'd made it push through the dark, the fear, the exhaustion, and for what? Nothing. He wasn't here. She stood alone, the last one left. The rain pounded harder, but she didn't move. Her hands shook, the box slipping slightly in her grip. She'd pinned everything on this, on Keanu. He was supposed to be her bridge back to her parents, to the nights when she felt safe, loved. Now that was gone too. "Why?" she whispered, her voice lost in the downpour. Tears mixed with the rain, hot and useless. She'd risked it all and it crumbled anyway. Her legs wobbled, ready to give out. She didn't know Keanu was closer than she thought, just a street away, his own night about to collide with hers. For Lily, though, that moment was pure despair. Her fragile dream drowned in the storm. Lily sank to the curb, her knees hitting the wet pavement hard. Rain streamed down her face, mixing with tears she couldn't stop. The wooden box slipped from her hands, splashing into a puddle. She scrambled to grab it, but the lid popped open, and there it was. Her parents' old watch, its face now blurred, water seeping into the cracks. That broke her. It was all she had left of them, and now even that was ruined. She stared at it, chest heaving, feeling like the last piece of her old life had just washed away. Everything she'd done, running from the orphanage, chasing Keanu Reeves through the storm, felt pointless now. "Why'd I even try?" she muttered, voice cracking. The question looped in her head, louder each time. Why didn't I go with them? Her parents' faces flashed before her, the fire swallowing their house, her mom's scream cutting through the smoke. She'd woken up alone in a hospital, a 7-year-old with nothing but scars and silence. Now, at 10, she was still alone, still lost. Keanu was supposed to fix that. He was her tether to those nights of laughter, to a time when she mattered. But he hadn't come. She'd pinned her heart on him, and he wasn't there. Her hands shook as she clutched the soaked box. Guilt clawed at her. Maybe it was her fault they'd died. If she hadn't begged to stay up late that night, if the heater hadn't been left on. She squeezed her eyes shut, the memories burning hotter than the rain was cold. "I should have gone too," she whispered. What was the point of living when everything good was ash? The orphanage was a cage, the other kids strangers. The caregivers just voices she tuned out. Keanu had been her one shot, a chance to feel her parents again, to hear their echoes in his presence. Without that, she was nothing. In a burst of anguish, Lily screamed into the storm. "Why'd you leave me?" It wasn't clear who she meant, her parents, Keanu, or the world itself. Her voice shredded the air, raw and wild, then dissolved into sobs. She crumpled forward, hugging herself, rocking as the rain pounded down. She didn't hear the footsteps approaching, didn't see the figure pause a few yards away. Keanu Reeves stood there, cap pulled low, fresh from a canceled meeting. He'd taken a detour to clear his head, not expecting this, a kid breaking apart in the dark. Lily didn't notice him. She was drowning in her own head, convinced hope was dead. "I've got no one," she choked out, tears spilling over her fists. Her body shook, half from cold, half from a pain too big for her small frame. She didn't want to go back, didn't want to keep breathing in a world that kept taking. Keanu watched, silent, his chest tightening. He'd seen grief before, lived it himself, but this hit different. She was so young, so alone, and something about her pulled at him, like a thread he couldn't ignore. Lily's cries grew quieter, exhaustion taking over. She slumped against the curb, eyes swollen, thinking this was it, the end of her fight. She didn't know Keanu was stepping closer, his own losses echoing in his mind. He didn't know her story yet, but he felt her weight. For Lily, the night was over. For Keanu, it was just beginning. Their collision was seconds away, and neither saw it coming. Keanu Reeves tugged his cap lower, shielding his face from the rain as he closed the gap between him and the girl on the curb. She was a mess, sobbing, curled into herself, a soggy wooden box lying in a puddle nearby. He bent down, picking it up, wiping it with his jacket sleeve. The watch inside caught his eye, old and waterlogged, but he didn't linger on it. "Hey," he said softly, crouching to her level. "You okay? What are you doing out here alone?" His voice was gentle, steady, cutting through the storm's chaos. Lily's head jerked up, her cries stuttering to a stop. She blinked, rain-streaked face frozen as she stared at him. That jawline, those eyes. She knew them instantly. "You? You're Keanu Reeves?" Her voice trembled, small and shaky, like she was scared he'd vanish if she said it too loud. She wiped her eyes with a sleeve, not trusting what she saw. Was this real? After everything, was he really here? Her heart thudded, hope and disbelief crashing together. Keanu nodded, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Yeah, that's me. What's your name, kid?" He stayed low, eye to eye with her, the box still in his hands. "Lily," she whispered, barely audible. Then it spilled out, everything. "My parents, they died in a fire. I was 7. We used to watch your movies together. It was our thing. Dad pretending he was you, Mom laughing so hard she'd cry." Her words tumbled fast, raw, like she'd been holding them too long. "You're all I've got left of them. I ran away tonight to find you. I had to." He didn't interrupt, just listen, his face softening. Her story hit him square in the chest. Loss wasn't new to him. He'd buried people he loved, felt that same hollow ache she was drowning in. "I'm sorry, Lily," he said when she paused, voice heavy with understanding. "That's a lot for anyone, especially someone your age." He handed her the box, careful, like it was sacred. "Your parents sound special. Those memories, they're yours forever, you know." His eyes locked on hers, steady and kind, pulling her back from the edge. Lily clutched the box, tears welling up again, but softer this time. "I thought if I saw you, I'd feel them again," she admitted, voice breaking. "The orphanage, it's empty. No one gets it." Keanu nodded, feeling her words sink in. "I get it, more than you'd think," he said quietly, thinking of his own scars. "You're not as alone as you feel right now." He stood, offering a hand. "Come on, let's get you somewhere safe. You're soaked through." She hesitated, then took it, her small fingers cold against his warm grip. Keanu pulled out his phone, dialing his assistant. "Mark, bring the car around. Quick, I've got a kid here who needs help." His tone was firm, no room for delay. Lily followed him, legs wobbly but moving, a flicker of trust sparking inside her. He wasn't just her idol anymore, he was real, here, caring. They walked a few steps toward the street, her leaning into his steady presence, when her knees buckled. "Lily?" Keanu caught her as she slumped, eyes fluttering shut. Panic flashed through him. "Lily, hey, stay with me." He scooped her up, her light frame limp in his arms. She was exhausted, starved, the night too much for her. He tapped her cheek gently, but nothing. "Mark! Hurry!" he shouted, voice tight. The car screeched up and Keanu slid in, cradling her against his chest. "She's not waking up," he said, more to himself than Mark, his calm cracking. Her breathing was shallow, face pale. He brushed wet hair from her forehead, willing her to hang on. "You're tough, kid. Don't quit now." Mark floored it, the car cutting through the rain. Keanu held her close, mind racing. He didn't know her an hour ago, but now she was his responsibility. Her story, her pain. It mirrored his own too closely. He couldn't let her slip away, not tonight, not like this. Keanu Reeves sat in the back seat, Lily's limp body cradled in his arms, as the car tore through the rain-slicked streets. Her head lolled against his chest, and his stomach dropped. "Lily," he said, voice sharp with worry. He pressed 2 fingers to her neck. Her pulse was there, faint, too slow. Her skin felt like ice, clammy from hours in the storm, and her breathing was barely a whisper. "She's freezing," he muttered, panic creeping in. He'd seen her fight, heard her story. Now she was slipping away, and it hit him hard. Too familiar, too close to losses he'd never shaken. "Mark, find the nearest hospital, now!" Keanu barked, his usual calm shredded. Mark didn't flinch, just nodded and gunned the engine, tires squealing as he swerved through traffic. Keanu tightened his hold on Lily, her small frame fragile against him. "Come on, kid," he urged, leaning close. "You're strong. You've made it this far. Don't give up on me, okay?" His words were steady, but his chest was a knot. She didn't stir. He brushed her wet hair back, willing her to hear him, to fight. "You're not alone anymore. I'm right here." The car rocked as Mark took a hard turn, but Keanu barely noticed. His mind spun, guilt sinking its teeth in. Why hadn't he seen it sooner? She'd been out there too long, hungry, cold, running on fumes. He'd been caught up in her story, her grit, and missed the signs. Her voice echoed in his head. "You're all I've got left." And now she was fading in his arms. He'd lost people before, watched them slip through his fingers, his sister, his friend. That old ache flared up, sharp and merciless. "Not again," he whispered, jaw tight. "Not her." Mark's voice cut through. 5 minutes out, hospitals close. Keanu nodded, barely hearing, his focus locked on Lily. He rubbed her arms, trying to warm her, but she was dead weight. "Stay with me, Lily," he said, louder now, desperate. "You've got too much left to do, you hear me?" Her chest rose and fell, shallow, uneven. He could feel her slipping, and it clawed at him, powerless, useless, just like before. He'd promised her safety, and now he was failing. The rain streaked the windows, a blurry cage around them, but all he saw was her pale face. The car screeched to a stop outside the ER, lights flashing red against the wet pavement. Keanu kicked the door open, lifting Lily out with one fluid move. "Help!" he shouted, voice cracking as he ran toward the entrance. "She's not breathing right. She's freezing!" Nurses rushed over, a stretcher rolling up fast. He laid her down, hands shaking as he stepped back. "She's been out in the rain too long," he said, words tumbling out. "She passed out. Please do something." A doctor took charge, barking orders as they wheeled Lily inside. "Severe hypothermia, possible malnutrition, move!" Keanu tried to follow, but a nurse blocked him, firm but kind. "Sir, you've got to wait here. We'll take it from now." He froze, nodding, watching the doors swing shut behind her. His fists clenched, nails digging into his palms. He couldn't do anything, just stand there useless again. The waiting room swallowed him, sterile and quiet, but his head was loud, replaying her collapse, her trust in him, her story. He sank into a chair, elbows on his knees, hands raking through his hair. "You should have known," he muttered, self-blame gnawing at him. She was a kid, 10 years old, carrying a weight he understood too well. He'd seen the spark in her, the fight, and still missed how close she was to breaking. The clock ticked, slow and cruel, every second stretched, heavy with dread. He pictured her parents, the fire she'd described, how she'd lost everything. Now he might lose her too. A doctor emerged, face serious but not grim. Keanu shot up, heart in his throat. "She's stable, for now," the doctor said. "Severe malnutrition and hypothermia. We're warming her up, feeding her through an IV. She's not out of the woods yet, but she's fighting." Keanu exhaled, relief warring with fear. "Can I see her?" he asked, voice low. "Not yet," the doctor replied. "Give us time." Keanu nodded, sinking back down. "Fight, Lily," he whispered, staring at the doors. "You're tougher than this." He'd wait, however long it took. The hospital room was hushed when Lily's eyes fluttered open the next morning. Sunlight slipped through the blinds, soft and warm, and she blinked, groggy, taking in the sterile white walls. Then she saw him, Keanu Reeves, slouched in a chair by her bed. His cap was off, hair messy, and his eyes were heavy with fatigue, but they lit up when he caught her stirring. He leaned forward, a small, relieved smile breaking through. "Hey, kid," he said, voice low and warm. "You scared the hell out of me last night." Lily's lips twitched into a weak smile, her throat dry as she rasped, "You're still here?" She couldn't believe it. She'd passed out in his arms, sure she'd wake up alone again, or not wake up at all, but there he was, real and solid, not some fading dream. Her chest ached, not from pain, but from something softer, something she hadn't felt in years. Keanu chuckled, a quiet sound that eased her. "Told you I wouldn't leave," he said. "You're stuck with me now." His tone was light, but his eyes held a promise, steady and unshakable. She shifted under the thin blanket, wincing as the IV tugged at her arm. "What happened?" she mumbled, piecing it together. "Running, the rain, him." Keanu's smile faded a bit, replaced by something serious. "You pushed yourself too hard, Lily. Too cold, too hungry. We got you here just in time." He paused, rubbing a hand over his face. "Docs say you're tough." "Tougher than most. I believe it." She looked at him, his words sinking in. Tough. She'd never thought of herself that way. Just a kid who kept losing. Keanu leaned closer, elbows on his knees. "I talked to someone named Jane. Runs the orphanage. Told her what happened, made sure they know you're not in trouble." Lily's eyes widened, fear flickering, but he raised a hand. "You're safe, okay? I've got your back." Then his voice softened, like he was weighing his next words. "But I'm not stopping there. You deserve more than just getting by, Lily. I want to help you find a real family. People who'll stick around. Like your mom and dad did." Her breath caught. "A family?" She stared at him, eyes stinging as the idea hit her. For 3 years, she'd been a ghost, unseen, unwanted, drifting through the orphanage with her broken watch and fading memories. Now, Keanu Reeves, the man she'd chased through a storm, was sitting here, offering her something she'd stopped daring to want. "You'd do that?" she whispered, voice trembling. "For me?" He nodded, simple and sure. "Yeah, for you. You fought enough on your own." Tears spilled over, hot against her cheeks, and she didn't try to hide them. I thought I'd lost everything," she said, choking on the words. "When they died, it was like I died too, but you make me remember them without it hurting so bad." She reached out, her small hand finding his, and squeezed. "Thank you," she breathed, "for not leaving, for giving me a reason to keep going." Her grip was weak, but it carried all the weight of her gratitude, her fragile new hope. Keanu's throat tightened, her words cutting deep. He'd heard echoes of his own pain in her, losing people, carrying that void, but seeing her fight through it, seeing her trust him, stirred something fierce in him. "You don't need to thank me," he said, voice rough. "You're the strong one here. I'm just glad I found you." He squeezed her hand back, gentle but firm, sealing a bond neither had expected. Lily wiped her eyes, a shaky laugh escaping. "Guess I'm pretty stubborn, huh?" Keanu grinned, the first real smile she'd seen from him. "Stubborn as hell. That's what's gonna carry you, kid." For the first time since the fire, Lily felt seen, not as a burden or a tragedy, but as a person worth fighting for. Keanu wasn't just her hero from the screen anymore. He was here, real, and he wasn't walking away. That alone made the world feel less empty, less cruel. She wasn't alone anymore, and maybe, just maybe, she never would be again. A few days later, Lily was still in the hospital, propped up in bed, her strength creeping back. The door creaked open, and she glanced up, expecting Keanu or a nurse. Instead, 2 strangers stepped in, a woman with kind eyes and a man with a nervous smile. Clara and David. Keanu trailed behind them, hands in his pockets, watching quietly. Lily's stomach flipped. She didn't know them, but something in their faces felt heavy, expectant. She clutched the blanket, suddenly small again, unsure. Clara moved first, her steps soft but sure. She knelt by the bed, her voice warm. "Hi, Lily, I'm Clara. This is David." She gestured to the man beside her, who gave a shy wave. "We've wanted a kid for a long time. When Keanu told us about you," she paused, eyes shining, "we knew we wanted to be your family." Lily blinked, her breath catching. "Family?" The word felt foreign, too big for her to hold. David stepped closer, setting a small music box on the table beside her. "Thought this might replace that old watch of yours," he said, his smile tentative. "Plays a little tune, hope you like it." Lily stared at the box, then at them, her heart racing. Joy flickered, bright, sharp, but fear chased it. What if they changed their minds? What if she wasn't enough? She'd been unwanted before, left behind after the fire. Her fingers tightened on the blanket, doubt gnawing at her. Then her eyes flicked to Keanu leaning against the wall. His gaze met hers, steady, calm, like he'd seen her panic and wasn't fazed. "They're good people, Lily," he said, voice low but firm. "I made sure." That was all she needed. His trust in them became hers. Clara reached out, hesitant, and Lily didn't pull away. The woman's arms wrapped around her, gentle but solid, and Lily froze for a second before melting into it. Warmth, real, human warmth, seeped into her, thawing something she'd locked away since the fire. She hugged back, tight, her face pressed into Clara's shoulder. Tears pricked her eyes, but they weren't bitter this time. They were relief, a quiet ache of belonging she hadn't known she could feel again. David stepped closer, resting a hand on her back, and she felt it, the start of something new, something hers. Keanu watched, a faint smile tugging at his lips. He'd tracked down Clara and David after that first night, a couple he'd met through charity work, good hearts, strapped for cash, scared off by adoption costs. He'd called them, laid it out. Lily's story, her fight, her need. "She's special," he'd said. "I'll cover whatever you need. Money's not the issue." They'd hesitated, unsure they could take on a kid with her past, but Keanu pushed. "She's worth it, trust me." Now, seeing her in their arms, he knew he'd been right. Lily pulled back, wiping her face, and looked at Clara. "You really want me?" she asked, voice small, still testing. Clara nodded, brushing a strand of hair from Lily's forehead. "More than anything." David grinned, a little awkward but genuine. "We're not perfect, but we'll figure it out together, okay?" Lily's lips trembled into a smile, her first real one in days. She glanced at Keanu again, gratitude swelling in her chest. He'd done this, given her a shot she'd stopped believing in. She reached for the music box, winding it up. A soft melody spilled out, simple and sweet, filling the room. It wasn't her parents' watch, but it didn't need to be. It was new, like this moment, like Clara and David. Lily hugged Clara again, tighter, letting herself believe it. Keanu stepped forward, resting a hand on her shoulder. "Told you you're tough," he murmured. She nodded against Clara's chest, feeling it. Family, finally, within reach. A month later, Lily sat in her new room, a cozy space with pale yellow walls and a window overlooking a quiet street. The music box from Clara sat on the sill, its tiny tune now a daily comfort. She was home, really home, with Clara and David, who filled her days with small, steady acts of love. Pancakes on weekends, pencil stories, a hug when she needed it most. She pulled out a pencil and paper, scribbling a letter in her careful, slanted handwriting. "Dear Keanu," she began, "I found a family because of you. Clara and David are mine now. I'm going to be strong, like you said. Thank you. For everything." She folded the note, smiling as she pictured him reading it. Downstairs, Clara called her for dinner and Lily tucked the letter into an envelope, promising herself she'd mail it tomorrow. She wound the music box, letting its soft melody drift through the room. For the first time since the fire stole her old life, she felt a lightness, a real smile tugging at her lips. It wasn't just the sound of the box. It was the warmth in her chest, the kind she'd thought was gone forever. The darkness that had shadowed her for years didn't feel so heavy anymore. A light inside her flickered, steady and growing. Keanu got the letter a week later, sitting in his kitchen with a cup of coffee. He unfolded it, reading Lily's words, and that rare, quiet smile of his broke through. "Kid's tougher than I'll ever be," he muttered, tracing her messy scrawl with his thumb. Her story had stuck with him, her fight, her trust, the way she'd pulled him in that rainy night. He'd already made sure Clara and David had what they needed, money for bills, a little extra for Lily's school stuff. But her letter sparked something bigger. He grabbed his phone, dialing his manager. "Set up a fund," he said, voice firm, "for orphans like her. Quietly, no fuss." Lily wasn't the only one out there, and he'd be damned if he didn't try to help. Back in her room, Lily sat by the window, the music box humming its tune. She thought of her parents sometimes, their laughs, their love. But it didn't crush her now. Clara and David weren't replacements, they were new, and that was enough. Keanu had given her that chance, lit a spark when she'd lost her way. She smiled wider, pressing a hand to the glass, feeling the world open up. The light in her wasn't flickering anymore, it burned bright, steady, alive. Keanu's fund would grow, touching lives he'd never meet, all because one stubborn girl chased him through a storm. But for Lily, it was simpler. She had a home, a reason to keep going. The music played on, and her light didn't fade. Kindness, it turned out, could change everything. Lily's story teaches us that kindness can be a lifeline even in the darkest storms. One small act, Keanu stopping for a crying girl, didn't just save her, it rebuilt her world. Life's brutal sometimes, stripping us bare, but it's those quiet moments of compassion that pull us back. We don't need to be heroes or have millions. We just need to see someone hurting and care enough to act. In our own lives, it's simple. Listen to a friend, help a stranger, share a little light. That's how we keep hope alive, for them, for us. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Your time means a lot. If Lily and Keanu's tale touched you, drop a comment with your thoughts or where you're from. Love stories like this? Subscribe for more. They're coming your way.